I'm grateful to Chong because he has already given us some ideas about the next topic. If we can make something really aesthetic, this is very much a consensus that the next topic is the idea of art as public good. We have three guests, Mr. Vincent, JP, Chairman Harbourfront Commission. Vincent, please. Ms. Connie Lam, Executive Director of Hong Kong Arts Centre. And we have someone online, Mr. Andrew Mead, Head of Architecture, MTR Corporation Limited. I have to invite Ian to be the moderator. Ian is the Program Manager of the Hong Kong Arts Centre. Thank you. Thank you, Vincent. Connie?
Hi, how are you? I'm very well.
Hi, I'm Ian, in case you forget my face.
I remember you, yeah.
I'm tasked with introducing you first, and I'll hand over to you to lead us into our discussion of today's topic. So Andrew Mead is the Head of Architecture of Hong Kong MTR, and I know, Andrew, you're specialized in mass transit system architecture. You also lead a multidisciplinary team, which I think we'll come back to that. And you're also an advocate for art in public space and also in mass transit system. Also, before you come in Hong Kong, you also advocate a lot in London and in Singapore and places all over the world. So, Andrew, I'll hand over to you the time now.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction. I thought I'd start with a photograph of North Point Station, and actually one of my personal favorite artworks. This is called I Love North Point. North Point is my home. It was commissioned long before I joined MTR back in 2000 and was really one of the early works, but also shows the power of art to transform what can be anonymous public spaces. Just contrast this image with this next one. I'm sure those of you who know your station colors will recognize this as Wan Chai Station, but what a desolate place it is without the art in it. Of course, if any of you have been recently to Wan Chai Station in the past year, you will have seen that one of our latest artworks, a collaboration with Hong Kong Ballet, has totally transformed the space. This is a real fun piece to work on. It was a collaborative piece, as I say, with the Hong Kong Ballet, but also with MTR staff. The guy with the umbrella in his hand is actually one of my team, Kwok, who helps me a lot with the art programs and also the architectural design. And it's a great way to celebrate the work that we do as the MTR together with the Hong Kong Ballet and the people of Hong Kong, and introducing a permanent artwork through there. And you see here how we transform that once very desolate space into a riot of color. The artworks that we select and how we select them is quite eclectic, and it's deliberately so because we want to reflect the diversity of Hong Kong. But there's a few key principles that we try to adopt when we commission an artwork. And one is about wayfinding. And here you see the arrow sign at the top, which is the one-way sign. But it also works as a directional arrow off the platform through here. It is not an accident that it's located up there in the corner. And of course, the visual there is very iconically Wan Chai. So you can actually recognize where you are, even though you are deep underground. This is my office, or the station next to my office, I should say, up in Fo Tan. And you can see here how the artwork dominates the space along with the two edges. And once again, the transformation of what that used to look like is quite stunning. I think the only thing that actually retains in here is actually the clock in the middle, but the rest of the station has been totally transformed by the power of the art and the renovation that we did. When I joined MTR in 2013, this was Admiralty Station, and really what the art program had rather sadly become, just hanging pictures on the wall at this grand staircase. And I was part of our work with what we call now the North-South line and the Sha Tin Central Link. We've been expanding and renovating Admiralty Station for several years. And a few years back, we actually completed a new art commission in this staircase. It's called Play Code, and it's actually a mixture of the QR code that you see at the end and also Morse code that's behind there. And the Morse code is a reference back to the British Admiralty that used to park their ships in the harbour and used to communicate with Morse code. And so once again, you see how this work is uniquely assigned to Admiralty Station and not to, say, Wan Chai. And that's a very key part of how we commission the artworks in the stations. Of course, we have new stations that we've been building over the last 10 years or so. This is an image of Hing Keng Station, a very green station. We're putting sustainability at the heart of our new station designs. And this is it now recently completed. For the art program here, it was an interesting challenge because we had an existing design. And what I decided to do was work with a local artist and do something based around this very uniquely Hong Kong thing of hanging blankets out to dry over these railings on the sidewalks, and working together with local school children using cyanotype to create images on the blankets themselves. And those finally were printed into glass panels and form the perimeter walkway of the station itself. And on a sunny day, you get sun coming down and streaming down and projecting color onto the entrance of the station. It's really quite magical to be there. The South Island line, this had a number of artworks commissioned for it. And again, we were very much focused on trying to work with the local community. So this is a homage to the paper cutting techniques of long ago, and working with students, we actually got them to start to do some of the paper cutting themselves and experience this paper cutting technique along with under the supervision of an artist. So a tremendous way of engaging with our community and youngsters going through. And this is similar at on the West Island line. We did another piece here where we did an artwork. This was drawings with local school kids, and again under the supervision of a professional artist. And here you see the final artworks that are actually installed. And we put art for the first time here inside lift cars themselves, so that the journey of using the lift and going up and down the stations became that little bit more unique and more enjoyable. The artwork is also in the lift lobbies here, where you can see that where people wait for the lift, there's very deliberately quite a bit of detail in these pieces, so people, while they're waiting for the lift, can really appreciate the artworks as they go through. I thought I'd end, there's only a few slides that I can cover through this. Some of our very early works. This is Gaylord Chan, called Swift and Safe. And it's a work that's designed to be walked past, as you can see here, which connects Hong Kong Station through to Central Station on the side here. And the other piece that was commissioned at the same time was Dancing Ribbons, a very, very large commission that you'll probably recognize from this photograph at IFC. But really the magic for this piece comes when you actually view it from the roof above. And you start to see that what we've actually done is create a three-dimensional painting that is the size of a city block. It's one of the unique things that we can do through art in MTR and art in architecture at the scale of which MTR builds buildings and develops stations. My final two slides is trying to preempt maybe a question that I might get asked, which is my favorite artwork? Honestly, it's like trying to choose between my children. As mentioned in the introduction, I've done artworks in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Toronto. And each one of them is unique. Each one of them has a unique story to it. But this piece by Louise Soloway Chan at Sai Win Pun Station was really very special. You can see this lady with a shopping cart interacting, touching, leaning gently over to touch the piece. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to create this personal moment of interaction with art, which you wouldn't normally expect in a station, in a metro system. So my final slide is me with the artist in the blue shirt, that's Louise, where I took a few friends along through here. And it's somewhere, wherever I have friends coming in from overseas to visit me in Hong Kong, I always take them along. So it's just a small snapshot of some of the things we do, but it kind of shows you the power of art to transform what would otherwise be a mundane transit experience and often an anonymous experience of going underground and losing your bearings in stations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So may I switch my language channel?
Cantonese. Thank you, Andrew.
All right, thank you very much, Andrew. I'm really pleased to have with us Vincent, chairman of the Harbourfront Commission. We have a lot of new space at the Harbourfront. I hand you over to Vincent for the details, please. Right, we heard Winnie, Ricky, and all the details that they talked about, and also Raymond FONG, who just stepped out. And he hasn't left, I think he just stepped out for a moment. What I have in mind is what we see today doesn't appear overnight. What we see today seems to have a lot of creativity. There is ample room for artistic creation. I'm sure many people do hold fast to their dreams. They have experienced a lot of challenges and difficulties, and they have been hamstrung by a lot of difficulties.
Because of the perseverance, since they continue to pursue their dreams, they continue to think of different resolutions and try to find some tiny little space under the barriers in order to find a way out. I believe that for us who are like-minded, we are actually, partially frightened because we never know what is waiting for us after we step out. Having said that, we are all willing to try to take risks and experiment. Well, and it seems that the outcomes shows us that, we don't need to worry that much. Sometimes people from the outside will try to worry us with questions, concerns, and worries, which is going to scare away many people. But I'm very thankful because we have a group of people who are like-minded, who would like to persevere and to continue to pursue the dreams so that we will be able to create more space for arts in this city, allowing all of us to imagine more. As from my topic today, arts at Harbourfront, we have prepared it for 17 years. Well, for this talk, we prepared only for 17 days, but what you see today, we know that we actually find a shared pulse between arts and Harbourfront. For arts, we need to be appreciated. We need to be appreciated, and we need to touch people. There has to be content and storylines, and I believe that Harbourfront is the venue to offer arts with appreciation, pedestrian flows, etc. In the past, walks at the Harbourfront. Well, recently I'm frequently interviewed by friends of media. They will often ask me to change the ordinance to protect the Harbourfront. At the beginning, I was quite shocked at this question. Because of the existence of this ordinance, we are still having the coastline at Victoria Harbour as it is. The reason why we think that we are unable to do anything at the harbourfront is because that there has been reclamation after reclamation over the 100 years. So you can't really blame the government for not doing anything at the harbourfront, because the harbourfront and the coastline is constantly changing until this ordinance comes into place. Because of this ordinance, the coastlines of Victoria Harbour can be permanent. That is why in the past 17 years, like working on a jigsaw puzzle, we work piece by piece. We found it very difficult at the beginning, but today we see a harbourfront of a total of 73 kilometers are being connected for 24 kilometers. As Michael Wong have shared, we are going to achieve it as 35 kilometers in 2028. In recent years, we have been making a lot of different new attempts because none of us is patient enough to keep on thinking. Well, as Winnie said, we have to experiment it first. Even if it is still not perfect, even if a plan is not complete, we can still give it a try. For example, we can try with fishing facilities first, and then we can move on to the grass or the jogging path, etc. Well, sometimes we will notice that we are only having the promenade at the coastlines and nothing else. Well, but actually, we have a lot of pop-up projects. Because the promenade is actually quite empty, we don't have any designs from the ASD. They are only painting the walls and adding fences there. So what exactly can we do there? The emptiness is actually offering us the perfect canvas so that the illustrators, painters, young designers can showcase their potentials. Since they are all pop-up installations, that means we don't have to worry about distractions. We can just toss it away. No pressure at all. We don't have to think of the most durable materials. We don't have to worry about whether or not we can put it there for 10 years because we might as well spend 10 years thinking about all these questions. So as you can see, the Harbourfront itself is actually a piece of art. After connecting the Harbourfront, people can just come and enjoy fresh air, sunset, taking photographs of the cloud, and all of a sudden you may see some waters on the ground because the ground is not even at all. But that a tiny little pond can become a reflection of the sky and turn the waters into an artwork as well. So sometimes we don't have to plan to every details because if we planned so much, then all our works will be the same and monotonous. What we need to do is to leave room. By leaving room, there will be room for arts. This is actually a more down-to-earth approach. Well, as Michael have shared, on the left-hand side is the teapot installation at Wan Chai Harbourfront. We have different artists creating different pieces at the Harbourfront. This is actually a procedure that we continue to go on. At the beginning, we are only doing knitting works at the fences, but then we think it's not sufficient, so we keep testing the waters. And sometimes we have to become a pedestrians ourselves. We have to test it out. We have to walk the path, or maybe we have to visit the Harbourfront for over 20 to 30 times. We have to visit, walk, and feel so that we will know what can we do better. Today, Harbourfront has become a gallery of arts. We have never imagined that the shelter at Causeway Bay can become an exhibition space. But after connecting the Harbourfront, there will be some artist residency who keep creating art pieces there. Then people will actually notice that we have the most natural art galleries at our Harbourfront. Well, this art piece is called Chun Nao Bat Sik, that is a never-ending streams at this Harbourfront. It actually comes as a surprise because the Victoria Park does not allow it to showcase, and then it moves to Victoria Harbour. But it turns out a better venue for that art piece because together with other art pieces, they can share the same space together and interact with the ocean. As you can see, be it a tile on the floor, a pile of stones with a cartoon characters there, two birds on the hoarding. Each element at the Harbourfront can become an inspiration of art creation. empty space, road sign, waterfront. We really want to see more art piece on the front. Thank you for via North Point. I was walking past North Point last night, and I'm very surprised to find that swimming shaft. It is very interesting. The Harbourfront is a venue for creativity. It is a gallery. You can even interact with the pedestrians as well as the sceneries. You can also interact with the seasons or with the human bodies, etc. By doing so, you can communicate with the general public, and you will be able to invite imagination. Or maybe you can tuck the hair in the nostrils of that art piece, and then you will be very surprised to find a rose there. Or maybe the art piece can invite you to interact with your own memory at that very venue. We encourage interaction and creation. Well, just now, Michael mentioned that I'm going to introduce to you one of my relatives, right? Auntie number 3. Actually, it is not auntie, it's 3 E's. Be it Ricky or Winnie, actually, all of us will have ongoing experiments. So that is the first E. We believe that we need space to experiment in this city. Otherwise, we will be doing the same management style from 1823. That culture is very afraid of complaints. If we continue to do things that way, there will be no progression, there will be no creation. What we have is a tiny little wish to create a space for you to experiment so that you can test it out and see it for yourself. Is it that scary? Are people going to steal everything that you put in a public space? Or maybe one person will steal from you, but there are 93% of people who are happy with it. So will you be drawing back just because there is one complaint? To us, the Harbourfront is indeed a platform for local artists to create. This is an opportunity for them. And the second E is engagement. As I listened to the presentation of Via North Point, I know that there are numerous engagements. What they create is an outcome of public engagement. The general public can take part in it. More importantly is the third E. Actually, you are all doing in your own positions. That is empowerment. We don't need one very strong organization to do it all. For Art at Harbourfront is actually an invitation for more and more organizations to share the piece of art at Harbourfront. Ricky Yu, as he shared about Lightby, we don't think that we have to rely on Ricky alone for all future Lightby or lighthousing. What we want to do is to empower more people to do it themselves. Well, indeed, Harbourfront Commission does not have so much resources to put artwork all over the 73 kilometers promenade. We just want to kickstart this project so that other rich organizations like Hong Kong Art Center to leave their art pieces there. Or maybe the New World developments, they are very rich. The art pieces that they put there are luxury. So what we need to do is to spend our money to promote the young local artists and designers will have an opportunity to show their talents. Just like this Harbourfront public furniture design competition. I see Arnold in our midst. Last night, as I walked past North Point, I sat on his artwork, which is called the Symphony, which is a very great piece. In Victoria Harbour, there is going to be a winning award for the font-type art installation design competition. This same piece is going to be found at the Harbourfront in North Point in September. Well, for the arts at Harbourfront, we have natural scenes. We have the land next to the Harbourfront. We have people, including the pedestrians and the designers, and this is changing on a seasonal basis. I hope that my shared would give you a brief idea about our recent works. And most importantly, we want to empower you all to continue to pursue your own dreams. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vincent. Next, I would like to invite Connie Leung, Executive Director of Hong Kong Arts Centre, to share with us. Thank you, Ian. Let us go to my first slide. I want to share with you the journey of Hong Kong Arts Centre. I think our journey is resonating with the sharings of Winnie, Vincent, and Ricky. We need the support from the government, and we need a lot of different organizations collaborating with us. And we also need to hit on the agenda of inclusivity. Well, this is a very precious photo. This is the beginning of Hong Kong Arts Centre in 1977. Why am I choosing this image? As Vincent said, that our coastline just keeps changing. Well, the Arts Centre is actually on a piece of reclaimed land. You see that that pedestrian path is very wide back then, but not now because many new buildings has been erected ever since.
When the Arts Centre was completed, everyone knew it was there, but it would be hard for you to make your way there. At that time, people vaguely knew something about art, but how do we get in touch with art? It is a bit of a tall order. If you look at this photo, that was the beginning of the Arts Centre. We had some public participation. There were some consulate staff who were there. In the 1970s, public art has become very popular in overseas jurisdictions, but not so much in Hong Kong. So how did public art made entry to Hong Kong? You may have heard of Henry Moore at City Hall. Mother and Child was the exhibition at City Hall. Now, this is also Henry Moore's work. The government and landmark or Hong Kong Land try to introduce public art to different places, not least Central. Now, City Hall is located in Central. We normally would see some bronze sculptures like Chairman Vincent said. This is good because there is very little maintenance and that will be needed. We had a lot of these in the early days. I remember in the year 2000, public art was really all the rage the world over. And this is a measurement of how culturally rich the city is. Now, public art is very much the measurement. In the year 2000, we got the support of the government. The former HAB colleague, Anita, she is sitting here. She approached the Hong Kong Arts Centre to create the Soul of the City exhibition. This is one of the most important public art talks. We had Grimina Angel, who just completed Bugongki Hill. We also had someone from the UK and all the rest of the world. Hong Kong was also represented there. Now, what was public art at the time? It was about enhancement of public space. We talked about some landmarks and so on. We had the Public Art Hong Kong with the support of the former director. Now, these are what we do at different places. We have this outside Hong Kong Arts Centre at the Quarry Bay Park. And there's also North Point. We work together with the Water Supplies Department. When we contemplate how public art means to the public, other than about history, what else does it entail? That we also had music as part of the public art. In 2018, we had a sculpture project at the outside government CGO. Victoria Harbour is very much Hong Kong's icon. Hong Kong is the third art market. Now, how can we promote art? How can we promote art and culture and that development? We're not really talking about international art. We're dealing with local art as well. In Hong Kong, in our cultural life, things are a whole lot different from the past. So how should we promote local artists for them to be on the same rank as the international artists? Hong Kong is a tiny place. It's hard for us to have any 3D works, and this kind of opportunity would mean a great deal. And in 2019, we're grateful for via North Point. In fact, North Point has chosen us. We are very privileged to be chosen by North Point. Now, from 2005 to now, we have been having another opportunity to understand public art and its relationship with the community. In old days, we may be just an art promoter, an art educator, or art producer. With this project over the past 26 months, we have been learning a great deal as listener, as observer, as connector, and also as lobbyist. Our capacity has undergone some gradual changes. This change of capacity has been helping us a lot. This is tying in with the work of Hong Kong Arts Centre. That we have the direction of art for all. Art is everywhere. Wherever you go, you should be exposed to art. And the last thing is art is living. Let me cite you some example. Art for all. Over the past decade, every single year, we have the film festival for the deaf people. We have 80,000 deaf people, and we have some programs for them. Art is everywhere. We have some media art programs in Admiralty, in Central, or even out there in Tsuen Wan. We're bringing art into the community. They are there for about a couple of days. We cannot have too much time, and this is at the waterfront. We're truly grateful to the URF. We have 26 months for us to appreciate the community. We have some colleagues who have been living in North Point for 3 generations, and some of them are actually living in North Point now. And we need to make a connection with the residents, and these past 26 months have helped us a great deal. We were up against a lot of challenges. The relationship is important. We had a lot of workshops. Connection is important, but during COVID, we have to contemplate ways, like Ian said, that we send teams of 2 out on the street. We also have an online connection, which cannot stop because we have to build the connection there. One of my colleagues told me yesterday that the Kaifongs adopted a wait-and-see attitude at the beginning, but when it came to the crunch point, they were willing to take part. And not only did they take part themselves, they brought along with them their relatives. And this is the opportunity for the program to be a success. It is important to listen to the Kaifongs. We find it at the beginning. We had a lot of frameworks. We like to make a connection between the old and new districts or communities. As we delve deeper into the subject, we find that different generations, young and old, do give us a lot of inspirations. The first one is sustainability, go green, and these in their eyes are terribly important. They also fill in the blank for us in terms of the community history. And people seem to have a huge attachment to the sea. We do have a lot of wonderful photos. We're not going to show you the photos because I want you to look at the real thing. Ian mentioned the urban charter a moment ago, and the commissioned artists and the 6 shortlisted artists. They are focusing on sustainability, and they do pin very high hope on the waterfront in North Point. And it took a bit of time for this to come about, and collectively they are pulling in the same direction. The most important thing is in this via North Point project, we de-educated ourselves and we re-educated ourselves in a way that we were more attuned with the community. We were more attuned with the creative partners. And our dialogues with the Harbourfront Commission were also important because we were working together with the stakeholders. We're not working on our own. In my conclusion, I'd like to say a couple of things here. As an art promoter ourselves, I think we have to really put down our baggage. We have to come together with many different stakeholders to look into the future. In 2001, the Space Odyssey came about. We didn't have any computers at the time. We have laptops, we have iPads these days. In fact, art can show us what hasn't happened in the future. And this is really imagining into the future. And also the myth of co-living. I really appreciate what Ricky said about the light housing. The North Point is very much a living room. Those who are living in North Point can enjoy in this living room. So every one of us should be enjoying the place naturally, because when you are sitting in your own living room, you can let your head down, you can enjoy the place the way you want. And art is very much part of our life. Like Winnie said, what the government is doing is to make places look better, because art is very much part of our life. And finally, we need time for communication. We need time to achieve a resonance among ourselves. Finally, I'd like to share with you a little story about this project, and that is the swimming shed. You can look at the artwork. This is a bamboo scaffolding, which is a unique feature in Hong Kong. This family who erected the scaffolding, the grandfather was the one who built the 1950 swimming shed. We had the younger generation erecting the swimming shed. Now, the swimming shed that you're looking at is very much a art piece, and there is very much a legacy there handed down from the previous generation. So this is something inspirational, and this is a legacy from the past. I'd like to recap what Ian said. Our future depends very much on you, Vincent. The harbour that we have, we hope that we will be able to take a dip in it, because the next generation really do need to have a nice, clean harbour for us to swim in. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I assume you understand what I'm going to say. So I'm going to say in Cantonese.
Sure.
What I heard from Andrew, Vincent, and Connie, in their respective areas, we're trying to break down the barriers. Andrew, I'm sure you can feel that MTR is a place where there is a high traffic, and in the harbour, people do have their own expectation. Sometimes we put development ahead of anything else. Now, Connie, you mentioned a moment ago the parks, the CGO, outside the lawn of CGO. There are a lot of stakeholders. I'd like to put a general question to the panel. Are there any major challenges that we are able to overcome today than we used to be able in the past? How can we break down the barriers and overcome all these barriers and challenges?
Would you like to start first? Your challenge in MTR?
The challenge in MTR? I think there's two. One is the very long timelines for the development and construction of the projects. And so commissioning artists, as we like to do at the very beginning, retaining the integrity of the work over that long period of time. Sometimes the artists, they develop themselves, and the work they've done 5 or 6 years ago is not where they are now. And that's sometimes a bit of a challenge. The second is the physical environment. We do a permanent art program, so ensuring that the materials used are durable and sustainable. That's another major challenge to the artists. But as you see with the diversity of the works we have, there's many solutions to that. But I'd say those were the two biggest challenges we have across the network in terms of designing and building new artworks.
Great, thank you. I'll follow up on that. So, Vincent, what do you think?
Vincent or Connie, how about you? Talking about challenges, I think I'm qualified to discuss about this item. For example, Connie said that Vincent, is up to you for us to swim at the harbourfront. My immediate thought is that what are the challenges that we need to overcome in order to do that? If you swim at the beaches or swimming pools, it's fine, but you won't imagine that next to the beach and swimming pool, you won't imagine an area full of fences and barriers when you go swimming there, right? So this is the barriers that we need to overcome. And it is not about the bureaucracy at the government. It is about the imagination of the general public. Are we, as a general public, are we allowing something to happen, or are we trying to come up with 100 reasons just to prohibit it from happening? Like Winnie said, people often think that beautiful designs or architectures has to be expensive. Or Winnie said any public works that is probable for people to climb is going to cause danger. People might fall from it and death. So we have to fence it up. Is it a must? For us at the harbourfront, I think the biggest challenge is the culture and the mindset of Hong Kong people as a whole. Are we here to embrace creativity, or are we thinking from a negative perspective? Or sometimes even we never take part in that piece of artwork. You never play there, but you're so negative that you have to stop all the kids from playing there. This is what I'm dealing with on a daily basis. I don't know how can I tackle it. Maybe we need more patience and time. Maybe we need to collaborate with more like-minded people to plead the community for opportunities so that we can continue to experiment. Vincent said it very well. From my perspective, from 2005 to now, I think the environment in Hong Kong is more accepting for arts to enter into our public spaces. Having said that, arts is not an essential item to many people. What is invisible to the public's eyes is the use of arts in public spaces. Maybe you can enjoy some of our showcase out there. Actually, kids in Hong Kong need a space for them to play, and arts is one of their way out. And elderly need stimulus. Well, it can't be too stimulating, but still they need some of it. And that is the function of art. I believe that our forum today is significant. We are not just gathering like-minded people here to discuss among ourselves. What I hope that is that our dialogues can bring impact to stakeholders. Different stakeholders will have their point of views. Yes, some of us has to focus on safety. I believe safety is important as well. However, other than safety, are there any space that allows us to take risk? I think in Hong Kong, we really lack opportunity to take risks. It is a similar idea to experiment. In some areas of life, we can actually make mistakes and start over again. This is the attitude that we need. First of all, the Via North Point Festival is a festival that lasts for a month. If it is welcomed, then we can be there for 1 year. I believe that this is the risk that we can take. After collecting your comments, we can make the decision on whether or not we can prolong this festival. I hope that in the future we can have more room to experiment, because no one can give you the answer. No one can guarantee you success, but if you don't try, nothing can ever be changed. Last but not least, well, actually, it's not just the government. Our government is the biggest employer in Hong Kong, but for other large corporates shall also include some introductory courses on art and life, so that people won't be so afraid of it, so that it is not so high profile. It is actually approachable and will add colors to your life. We don't have much time left. Before I raise another question, I would like to open it to the floor. Anyone? If not, I've received some questions from the internet. I will ask for this online participants. He said, thank you for all your efforts, especially for Vincent. Finally, the Harbourfront promenade is going to be opened. It is good to open stage by stage. We can perfect the plan after we collect comments. I believe that the residents will be willing to share the comments.
Empower our people and share responsibility for sustainability. 佢想問你嘅係下一步咧，我哋應該點做去做？
So for the next step, how can we further collect comments from the residents in order to perfect our plans? Our city is progressing. likewise is our public space. To open the promenade step by step before we perfect our plan is exactly the approach that we are looking for. In the past, we have to think through every bit of details, and then we spend a few years to build it, and then it will give birth to it, and then that's it. It's the final plan. Nothing can be changed. Well, no matter how much interaction you have in the process of designs, there will still be a time lapse. But the current approach we have now is to allow residents to give us comments through different channels. We don't care if they call 1823, the government hotlines, to complain us, like the promenade at Pullinger Bay. After we opened it, actually we took the initiative to conduct a survey. I think Ricky is aware of that. This is what we learned about the land debate. We cannot just listen to those who had the loudest voice. We have to get scientific and objective. We have to conduct a satisfaction survey so that we can truly listen to the general public, because that location can be mobile. If you keep everything fixed, then after listening to people's opinions, you can't change anything after a decade or two. We had shared many concepts about organic development, and that is exactly how we're going to do it. More and more venues will be adopting this management approach. We will interact with the general public. The Causeway Bay shelter, the water sports theme park in Wan Chai. Well, this year we're going to opening up more and more venues. So wait and see. There will be even more new ideas, and your comments are very much welcomed. Thank you very much. Any questions from the floor? Okay, Mr. Law. This question is for Vincent. Actually, we have opened up different open spaces, like the Leung Church Street in Mongkok, but it failed, and we had to take it back. As for promenade, I think we have discussed it at some of your previous meetings, but we can't think of an antidote. For example, in Tuen Mun Park, there are some ladies who enjoy singing in the public, or maybe there are performers who are performing at different venues on the street. If we have to be all-inclusive, then you need to include these people. But they will dominate your space. So in your plan, how are you going to strike a balance? Great question. The word balance is a word that I've been pondering for a long, long time. And my conclusion, well, I mean, my personal conclusion, I'm not speaking on behalf of any organization, not to say the government. Personally speaking, in the public space at the Harbourfront, I think there is no balance, only choices. Well, according to traditional wisdom, we have to balance in everything. Then you will end up with things that is not satisfying anyone, because you are trying to balance every parties, and you end up having a mediocre product. What I can do is to promote more and more venues to allow participants. If you see the singing ladies there, you can go to some other spots. In some other spots, you may be able to find your space. In that case, every people will be happy. If I try to allow different personalities in each of our venues, maybe there will be that is not going to work. Instead, we should allow different spaces for different people. We can allow a space for people who go busking, some other spaces for the old lady to sing. in North Point is very interesting. For North Point, we have planted way too many trees. They are not tall trees. They are all bushes, and they have taken up all the spaces on the grass. And domestic home helpers on the holidays, they have to sit between those bushes. If you observe such a phenomenon, then you have to think and be in their shoes. For the Kennedy town, you don't see any domestic helpers on those promenades because those are the spaces for the parents and children, and the domestic workers will not want to bump into their boss on the holidays right there, right? So that's why they moved to North Point. That's my point. You don't have to kick out anyone. You just have to create different spots that can meet the needs of different people. Thank you very much for your insight, Vincent. In our discussion today, we mentioned about the character of different spaces. If we zoom out a little bit more, if we take our public spaces as a public living room, then actually it can be multifunctional. Or maybe there can be different uses at different time slots during the day, or maybe different uses on different days throughout the weeks. Maybe that is a more beneficial point of view. I believe that this is the end of the panel, and I would like to pass the time to MC. Thank you, Andrew, and everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Connie, Vincent, Ian.